All right, let's dive into some Stoicism. You know, I'm super fascinated by this stuff. And you sent over some really thought-provoking material.
Well, hopefully it'll be a good deep dive then.
Yeah. I think the big three, a deep dive into core Stoic principles, this has got some serious potential. I mean, who knew that stuff from ancient philosophers could be so relevant to us today, right?
Yeah, no, it's really quite remarkable. I mean, these Stoic principles, even though they were developed centuries ago, they still offer guidance. You know, they offer resilience for navigating the modern world.
It's like they had a cheat sheet for life's challenges way back then. Okay, so the source dives into the three core disciplines of Stoicism: perception, action, and will.
Right.
And I got to admit, when I first saw that, it felt a little bit abstract.
Yeah.
But then I read that quote from Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
Certainty of judgment in the present moment, action for the common good in the present moment, and an attitude of gratitude in the present moment for anything that comes your way. It just clicked, you know?
Yeah. He really distills the essence of Stoicism there.
He does.
You know, linking each part of that quote to each one of the disciplines.
Yeah, it's a perfect summary. So perception, that's the first one.
Yeah.
What's the Stoic take on perception?
Well, the Stoics believed that our experience of life isn't shaped by like the events themselves, but by the judgments we make about them.
Okay.
They had this concept called dogmata.
Dogmata.
Dogmata, yeah, which refers to our opinions, our beliefs about the world.
Okay.
They're basically saying it's not what happens to us, but how we think about it. That really shapes our experience.
So like a Stoic wouldn't get all bent out of shape about being stuck in traffic. They'd just see it as like a fact of life and then choose how to respond.
Exactly. You got it.
What's
they would
that?
separate the fact, okay, I'm in traffic, from the judgment, this is ruining my day, for example.
Right.
Epictetus, another famous Stoic, famously said, it's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we have more control than we realize.
Absolutely.
But how do you actually practice that kind of mental discipline? Because it can't be easy to just like switch off those automatic negative thoughts, right?
Right. It definitely takes practice, but Stoicism offers some very specific techniques for doing that. One of them is to question your initial impressions.
Okay.
So instead of just accepting your first thought as truth, you kind of want to step back and ask yourself, is this really true? Is this helpful?
Okay.
This can help you break free from those habitual thought patterns, you know, those ruts that our minds can get into.
So it's like instead of spiraling into stress about being late for a meeting because of traffic, a Stoic would use that time to maybe, I don't know, practice mindfulness.
Right.
Do some breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Maybe plan out their next steps.
Exactly. It's all about shifting that focus from what you can't control, which is the traffic in that example, to what you can control, which is your mindset.
Okay.
And your response.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective. All right, so we tackled perception. What about action?
Okay.
How does that fit into the Stoic framework?
Well, the Stoics called this discipline kathekon. Kathekon, yeah, which emphasizes acting for the common good and aligning our actions with virtue. They believed that we should always strive to do what's right, even when it's difficult.
So it's not just about thinking clearly, it's about acting in accordance with your values.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius, who you mentioned earlier, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one."
That's a great quote.
Yeah.
But how do you translate that into everyday life? What does it actually look like to like be one in practice?
Well, the Stoics believed that there are certain virtues that are universally good: wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. They saw these as the guiding principles for action. So a Stoic would constantly ask themselves, is this action just? Is it courageous? Does it reflect wisdom and self-control?
That's a pretty high bar. I imagine that takes a lot of self-reflection and honesty to consistently act in line with those virtues.
Yeah, for sure. But that's where the power of Stoicism lies, you know? It challenges us to be our best selves, to constantly strive for excellence, you know, in our character and our actions.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense.
Good.
But I'm curious about the third discipline, will.
Okay.
It seems a bit more mysterious. How did the Stoics view will?
Yeah, will or rexus.
Rexus.
Or rexus, yeah, is all about our relationship with fate, with the things that lie outside our control.
So it's about accepting what we can't change.
That's a big part of it. Epictetus had kind of a long quote on this, but the gist of it is Some things are within our power and some things are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our power include the body, property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever are not our own actions.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. So it's about recognizing that there are things that we can influence and things we can't.
Yes.
Like we can control our efforts, but we can't control the outcome.
Right.
We can control our attitude, but we can't control the weather.
Nope.
Okay, I'm starting to grasp it.
Yeah.
But why is this important? Because it seems like accepting things that are out of your control could lead to, I don't know, like passivity or even resignation.
Yeah, that's common misconception, but it's actually quite the opposite. The Stoics believed that by accepting what we can't control, we free up our energy and attention to focus on what we can.
Okay.
This allows us to act with more clarity, more purpose, and greater effectiveness.
So it's not about giving up. It's about redirecting your efforts in a more productive way.
Exactly. It's about choosing where you invest your energy and your will. It's about choosing freedom over frustration.
This is really interesting stuff. So we've now touched upon all three disciplines: perception, action, and will. But they don't seem like separate concepts, do they? It feels like they're all connected somehow.
Yeah, you're right. They are deeply interconnected. In fact, the source we're looking at compares these disciplines to a three-legged stool.
Oh, okay. A three-legged stool. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this analogy.
All right, so picture a stool with three legs, right? Perception, action, and will. Now, if one leg is missing, what happens? The stool collapses.
Right. Makes sense.
Right. So it's not enough to just focus on one discipline. You kind of need all three to create that stable foundation, for living a good life.
It's like a system for living with more intention.
Yeah.
More resilience.
Exactly. And that's what makes Stoicism so relevant even today. It's not just about like ancient philosophy. It's a practical guide to living a better life.
I like that. This has been incredibly insightful, but I'm already thinking about how all this applies to my own life.
Okay.
Is that something we'll be digging into in the next part of this deep dive?
Absolutely. We'll be exploring some practical applications of these Stoic principles and see how they can help us navigate specific challenges and make wiser choices.
Okay, I can't wait. So we've established that Stoicism isn't just like some dusty old philosophy, right?
Right.
It's a practical system for living.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put these ideas into action in our lives?
Well, it's all about integrating those principles, right?
Okay.
Into our daily lives.
Yeah.
And using them as like a lens to view the world through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the source mentioning 3 guiding questions that can help apply these Stoic disciplines to our lives.
Right.
Maybe those would be a good place to start.
Absolutely. Those questions can act as, mental prompts whenever we encounter a challenge or need to make a decision.
Okay, let's dive into them. What's the first question?
The first one relates to perception. What are the bare facts of the situation?
So it's about stripping away all of our emotional reactions and seeing things objectively.
Yep.
But how do we actually do that? I mean, it's easy to say, be objective.
Right.
But emotions can be so powerful.
They are very powerful, but they can also be they can be very misleading. Think about it this way. Imagine receiving a harsh email from a colleague.
Okay.
Your first reaction might be anger or defensiveness.
Oh yeah. I've been there. My heart would probably start racing, and I'd want to fire back a response immediately.
But before hitting send, a Stoic would pause and ask, what are the bare facts of this situation? Is the email truly intended to be hurtful, or is it possible that the sender is, maybe just having a bad day or expressing themselves poorly?
It's like hitting the pause button on your emotional reaction and taking a step back.
Exactly.
To assess the situation.
Yeah.
But what if the email really is nasty?
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean you just have to take it?
No, not at all. It's not about suppressing your emotions or letting people walk all over you, It's about choosing how you respond.
Okay.
By separating the facts from your initial emotional reaction, then you can decide on the most constructive course of action.
So instead of getting like swept up in anger and potentially escalating the situation, you could respond calmly and assertively, like addressing the issue directly.
Exactly. Or you might decide that the best course of action is to, simply ignore the email altogether. The point is, by focusing on the facts, you gain clarity.
Okay.
You gain control over your response.
Okay, I'm seeing how this could be like really helpful in diffusing those emotionally charged situations.
Yeah.
What about the second question?
The second question relates to action. What is the right thing to do here?
Yeah, I can already see how this one builds on the first one.
Yeah.
Like you've taken a step back, you've assessed the facts, and now you're considering like how to act in a way that aligns with your values.
Exactly. This question challenges us to move beyond, self-interest.
Okay.
And consider the greater good. The Stoics believed that we should always strive to act with virtue, with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control.
That's a pretty tall order. How do you know what the right thing to do is? I mean, isn't that subjective?
Well, the Stoics believed that there are universal moral principles that can guide our actions. For example, honesty, fairness, kindness. These are values that, transcend individual opinions or cultural norms.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's about tapping into those core principles and letting them inform your choices.
So let's say like you see a colleague taking credit for someone else's work.
Okay.
It might be easier to just stay silent to avoid conflict.
Right.
But a Stoic would ask themselves, what is the right thing to do here?
Exactly.
And in that situation, like speaking up, even if it's uncomfortable, would be the courageous and just action.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's challenging.
That's that's reminded me of a time when I had to make a difficult decision at work.
Okay.
And it would have been so easy to just take the path of least resistance.
Right.
But deep down, I knew it wasn't the ethical choice. So I ended up speaking up, and it wasn't easy. But I felt a sense of integrity that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
That's a great example of how this Stoic principle can, play out in real life. It's not always easy, but it's about making those tough choices in alignment with your values.
Yeah. This has been really insightful. Okay, let's move on to the third and final question.
Okay, the third question is about will. What aspects of this situation can I control, and what must I accept?
This one seems to like get at the heart of that idea of acceptance that Stoicism is known for.
It does, and it's important to remember that acceptance in Stoicism isn't about resignation or passivity.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that there are certain things in life that are simply beyond our control.
Okay.
We can't control the weather, the traffic, other people's actions, or even to a certain extent, our own health.
So it's about acknowledging those limitations?
Yes. But it's also about empowering ourselves by focusing on what we can control.
Okay.
Our thoughts, our actions, our attitudes, these are all within our sphere of influence.
It's like that saying, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly. It's about directing your energy and your will towards what you can actually change.
Okay.
For example, let's say you're dealing with a health issue.
Okay.
You can't control the diagnosis, but you can control your attitude, your treatment plan, how you choose to live each day.
So instead of getting like stuck in worry or fear about the things that you can't change, you focus on taking action in the areas where you can make a difference.
Exactly. And this applies to so many aspects of life, from relationships to career challenges to global events. It's about recognizing what's within your control.
Yeah.
And letting go of the rest.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective.
Right.
It's not about denying reality or ignoring difficult emotions.
Right.
It's about choosing where you focus your energy and your attention.
And that's where true freedom lies, in the ability to choose your response, even in the face of challenging circumstances.
I'm starting to see how these three questions, like what are the bare facts, what's the right thing to do, and what can I control, can be applied to almost any situation.
Yeah.
It's like a mental toolkit for navigating life's ups and downs.
It really is. And the more you use them, the more intuitive they become. You'll start to naturally see things through this Stoic lens, making calmer, wiser choices.
Yeah.
Even when things get tough.
I have to admit, I'm already starting to think differently about some of the challenges that I'm facing. It's like a weight has been lifted.
That's the beauty of Stoicism. You know, it offers a path to greater peace of mind, even amidst the chaos of modern life.
I'm eager to hear more about that in the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
What else can we learn from the Stoics?
Well, there's still a lot to explore, including some common misconceptions about Stoicism and how it can help us cultivate a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Yeah, I'm all ears. All right, hit me with some more of that Stoic wisdom.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there are like some common misconceptions about Stoicism. What are those?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones is that Stoicism is all about being emotionless, like suppressing all your feelings.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't accurate at all.
Yeah, I can see how people might get that impression, you know?
Yeah.
Just the name itself, like Stoic, it kind of sounds like you're supposed to just like grit your teeth and bear it, you know, whatever life throws at you,
right,
without showing any emotion.
Right, but that's a very surface level understanding.
Okay.
Stoicism doesn't advocate for suppressing emotions. In fact, the Stoics acknowledge that emotions are a natural part of human experience. What they emphasize, though, was the importance of understanding and managing our emotions, rather than letting them control us.
So it's not about being a robot. It's about being like more mindful of your emotional responses.
Exactly. Remember that concept of dogmata we talked about earlier?
Yeah, our judgments about the world.
Yeah, our judgments about the world. Well, the Stoics believed that a lot of our negative emotions stem from faulty judgments.
I think that example with the traffic jam.
Right.
The traffic itself isn't inherently bad.
Right.
It's our judgment about it
that
creates the stress and frustration.
Yeah, so Stoicism encourages us to examine those judgments, to ask ourselves, is this really true? Is this thought helpful? And by questioning our initial emotional reactions, we can choose more constructive responses.
So instead of getting swept up in, I don't know, anger or anxiety, we can kind of take a step back, assess the situation, and then choose how we want to respond.
Yes. It's about being in the driver's seat of your emotions rather than letting them drive you. Another common misconception is that Stoicism is about being passive.
And just accepting whatever life throws at you.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I can see how that might be confusing.
Yeah.
Especially since we just talked about like the importance of acceptance in Stoicism.
Right. But it's crucial to understand that acceptance in Stoicism isn't about, you know, giving up or becoming apathetic. It's about recognizing the difference between what you can control and what you can't.
So it's not about resigning yourself to fate.
No.
It's about focusing your energy where it matters most.
Exactly. Remember the Stoic discipline of kathakon?
Right action.
Right action. Stoicism is very much about taking action, but it's about taking action in alignment with virtue and in those areas where you can actually make a difference.
It's about finding that balance between acceptance and action. Like accepting what you can't control and taking action where you can. So it's a dynamic philosophy, not a passive one.
Precisely. And this is where Stoicism can be so empowering.
Okay.
It gives you this framework for navigating life's challenges with more clarity.
More purpose and resilience.
Yeah.
You learn to let go of what you can't control.
Yeah.
To focus on what you can.
Yeah.
And to act in accordance with your values.
This has been a really incredible deep dive into Stoicism.
Good.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of what it really means to be a Stoic.
I'm glad to hear that.
Do you have any final thoughts for our listener on how they can start applying these principles in their own life?
Well, I'd encourage your listener to approach Stoicism as a practice, not just a philosophy. It's about taking these principles and experimenting with them in your daily life. See what works for you. Start small. Maybe choose one of the 3 disciplines, perception, action, or will, and focus on that for a week. Or try using those 3 guiding questions we discussed, whenever you face a challenge.
So it's about making it your own, finding what resonates with you.
Yeah.
And then integrating it into your life in a way that feels authentic.
Exactly. And remember, Stoicism is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn and explore.
Well said. This has been a truly enlightening deep dive.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I feel like I have a whole new set of tools for navigating life's challenges, with more wisdom and resilience. And to our listener, thank you for sharing these fascinating sources with us, and for joining us on this journey into the world of Stoicism.
Yes.
We hope you found it as valuable as we have.